All right, class. So for this week's lesson, you guys are going to be learning how to construct a perpendicular line and a parallel line through a given point and in reference to also a given line. So this is lesson 5.33. So in our first example, our first two examples, we're going to be constructing perpendicular lines. So some of your examples, so basically you're going to construct a perpendicular line of each through a given point, which is going to be point A, which is on line 1. So in our first example, your point A is going to be located on line 1, and you're going to construct a perpendicular line through point A. You cannot just go and take a straight edge and just draw a line through it. That's not what I'm asking you to do. So you have to use a compass, straight edge, and a pencil, okay? So first thing you want to do is take your compass. Since point A is on the line, you're going to take the sharp point and you're going to put on point A. You're going to make a mark to the left of point A, to the right of point A. Those two marks have to come in contact with line number 1, which is your given line. Now, how far you go left, how far you go right, doesn't really matter, but however far you go left has to be the same distance to the right. So I'm going to go this distance, and I'm going to make, so remember the sharp point on point A, and then you take the pencil and you make a mark to the left of point A. Same distance, now you go, you make a mark to the right of point A. So you should have two marks, one to the left and one to the right, okay, just like this. One sharp point on A, left, and then right. And again, there is no particular distance, but whatever distance away from A has to be the same from both sides. After you do that, you're gonna get this location. I'll call this point B. I'll call this point right here point C. Now what you're gonna do next is you're gonna bisect the distance between B and C. Last week, I taught you guys how to bisect a segment already. So here you have a segment B to C, meaning the endpoints are B and C. We're going to bisect that. Once I bisect that, I will get my perpendicular line that goes through point A. So to bisect BC, I'm going to put the sharp point on C. And remember, to bisect the distance from B to C, I have to go more than halfway. So you guys know point A is already halfway. So I just need to go make sure I'm past point A. So I put the sharp point on C. Go more than halfway, so this is more than halfway, it's past point A. I'm gonna do the same thing, I'm gonna draw half a circle, okay? Do the same thing now, go to opposite end, put the sharp point on point B now, and you're gonna do also again a half circle again. And remember, do not change the distance. Whatever you did from point C, do the same thing from point A. Here, I'll call this point D, I'll call this point E. And so all you do now is connect point D and E together, and you'll get your perpendicular line that goes through point A. So I'll label this line number 2. So your second line, which is a red line, it goes through point A and is also perpendicular to line number 1. Okay. So if you need to, you can watch this multiple times again. That's the first example. Second example, you're going to construct a perpendicular line again, but this time your point A, it's not going to be on the line. Instead, it's going to be off of the line, which means it's going to be off of line number 1. So here, example 2, here's line 1. You notice point A is no longer on the line. So if it's off the line, how do we do it differently? All right, so sometimes your point A, if it's off the line, it could be below, it could also be above. And so I'll show you the first, I'll do both of them. Example 2, one is below. Example 3, it's above, but it's pretty much the same thing. So you take the sharp point again, you put it on A, and what you want to do is you want to do, I call this a sad face, right? And when you create a sad face off of point A, make sure your sad face comes through line number 1. So just like this, so sharp point on A, and then you want to create sad face. Make sure when you create a sad face, or like a half a circle, either however you want to interpret, okay? Make sure when you create this, it has to be big enough so that it does come in contact with line 1. So here you got, I'll label this point B, point C. If your line 1 that it's given, if it's not long enough, here in my example, it's pretty long, so I was able to come in contact, but if it's not long enough, you're welcome to extend it to make it longer so that when you do your sad face or half a circle, it does come in contact with line 1. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to bisect BC again. So since point A is down here, when I bisect BC, like how I did example 1, it automatically go through point A. So sharp point on C, and then I'm going to go more than halfway. This is definitely more than halfway. I'm going to draw, again, half a circle, okay, from point C. Halfway, more than halfway between point B and C. Do the same distance, don't change it. Go to point B, and also do another half a circle. Okay. When you do that, you're going to get a point of intersection above point A. You're going to get an intersection below point A. And I'll label that what? D and E again. And so all you got to do now is connect D with E. And there you go. You have your line number 2, which is perpendicular through point A, which is off the line. Well, perpendicular line 1, and it comes through point A, which is off the line. Okay. Example 3, the same thing. But this time, instead of doing a sad face or half circle, you're going to do a happy face, which is going to be half a circle, and you're going to do it below now, because that way, because point A is above line 1. So you're going to have to create half circle. Same idea. You can go as far as you want. Make sure you come in contact, just like this. So if it's off the line, just like how I did here, this time I did a sad face because my point was above it. And so here, it barely touched the edge of my line, which is fine. So I'll label this point again, points B and point C. And so again, let me reiterate this again. If you need to extend your given line, you could. So if you're given a short line in your example, you're welcome to make it longer so that when you do your sad face or happy face, it does give you point B and C. Then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to bisect BC, which is what I taught you last week. So sharp point on C, go more than halfway. This is definitely more than halfway. Same thing. Draw half a circle. Okay. Same thing. Don't change the distance. Go to point B now and do same thing, half a circle. Okay. Points D, point E. Let me warn you ahead of time also. When you guys bisect BC, sometimes if you don't open it up, when you bisect, you create the one arc from C, one arc from B. Sometimes it might also go through point A, and so it's okay if it goes through point A. You can also just connect it to point A. Sometimes, depending on how big you open up your compass. That's it. Same thing. So line 2 is perpendicular to line 1, and it goes through point A, but this time the point A was above the line. Okay. All right, so the last example is drawing a parallel line. So you guys know for parallel line, they're not going to intersect like that. They're going to be side by side. So I need you to pay real good attention, because this one requires a good amount of steps. So you're going to have to probably watch this a few times to get the hang of the parallel one. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to construct a parallel line through point A. And that's also through point A, that's also parallel to line number 1. So it's going to be, so we're going to draw a line that looks like, or hypothetically, where my pen is at. So we're going to draw that through construction. I do not want to see people just draw a line through and say, hey, that's my parallel line. I'm going to look for your construction work, okay? So first step is just like how we do a perpendicular. So in order to do my parallel, I must do a perpendicular line, just like example number 2 and 3. So let me walk you guys through that again. So since point A is below line 1, since we're going to first draw a perpendicular line, I need to go ahead and draw an arc, just like this, a sad face. Okay? And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to draw a sad face, just like that's how we start off the problem. We first draw a perpendicular line. So I'll have B, C, okay? And then we're going to bisect BC. And we're going to get line number 2. In line 2, it's going to be the perpendicular, but that's not my final answer. My final answer is to get a parallel line. And so that's going to be the line 3. So in reality, we're going to be drawing 3 lines. So we're going to draw line 1, line 2, and then the third line is the one that's going to be parallel. So I'm going to bisect BC again. Okay, so that's more than halfway. I'm going to draw half a circle, just like that. Okay. Go to B again. Remember, bisect means I'm going more than halfway, and I'm going to give my perpendicular bisector. So here you get points D and points E. Okay, so you notice for this one, earlier when we did bisecting, point A was like inside of the little, like a little oval shape. Sometimes it might be inside, sometimes it might be outside of it, sometimes it might even be on the point intersection, but it doesn't really matter, okay? So our first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna draw line number 2, okay? So line 2, right here, is the perpendicular. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the third line, which is the parallel line, which would resemble where my pen's at. We haven't drawn that yet. So it's kind of like example 1 and 2 and 3 combined, kind of to do example 4. So again, I need to draw a line that's parallel to line 2, line 1 that goes through point A. So I did my line 2, which is perpendicular. I'm gonna now go ahead and draw a line. So the last line, which is line 3, put the sharp point at point A, okay? I'm gonna go above, just like example 1, if it's on the line, I have to make a line, an arc to the left and a mark to the right. But in this case, since it's a vertical line, I have to make a mark above, okay? Again, this doesn't matter, whatever distance you mark above A, you mark the same distance below A, okay? So you can go really far up if you want, or you can go really far down if you want, but I just chose go this distance. But whatever distance you go on above point A on the line, below point A on line 2. That gives me now, I'll call this what, F? It'll give you point F, and it'll give you point G. Okay, and so the last step I'm gonna bisect FG. Once I bisect FG, it will go, basically I'm drawing another perpendicular bisector, but it's going sideways instead of going vertical upside down. So when it goes sideways, it will be parallel to line 1. And so we're gonna bisect, remember, F to G. So sharp point on G, go more than halfway. This is definitely more than halfway between F and G. I'm gonna draw half a circle again. Okay. Oops. Let me make that. Okay. Now I'm gonna take the sharp point now. Don't change the distance. I'm gonna go F because I'm bisecting G to F. Okay. Which now gives me one intersection to the left. H, I'll call this point H. I'll call this point right here I. Okay. And then I'm going to connect I and H and I together to give me my third line, which is the parallel line that we're looking for. So connect the sharp point H and I. Okay. And so there's your line number 3. And so line 3 is parallel to line 1. And so, again, you're going to probably watch this multiple times because it takes a lot of steps. So to summarize it, basically you're drawing a perpendicular line up and down first, and then you're going to draw another line that's perpendicular going sideways, and that line will be parallel to line 1. And so good luck, and since I'll make this assignment, it'll be due next Tuesday night instead. I'll give you guys a little bit more time since I posted it up today on Wednesday instead. So good luck, guys.